Our body has the ability to slip into the state of ketosis, which means that we're burning fats for fuel. And it's a useful and necessary physiologic adaptation. A million years ago on the African savannas, I'm sure our ancient foraging ancestors would have to go 4 or 5 days before they found the next berry bush with fruit on it. And these enforced 5-day fasts were probably the rule. And our body slips into the state of ketosis, and the body conserves energy, it cleans out old cells. It's a healthy thing to do for a short period of time. And so I'm all for people doing these brief intermittent fasts once a month for 4 or 5 days. A brief spell of ketosis is fine. The problem is that we're Americans, that if a little is good, more must be better. And so if 5 days in ketosis is good for you, well, how about a month in ketosis? How about 3 months? Let's stay in ketosis. Well, ketosis is a state of stress. Those ketones are acidic. It's a state of low-grade acidosis.
All right. So, and this is, I mean, these are all patently false, right? So ketoacidosis is very different from ketosis. In type 1 diabetics, there is a state called ketoacidosis when the insulin is not, the pancreas is producing zero insulin at all, right? And then you get runaway blood glucose production, runaway gluconeogenesis. At the same time, you're getting runaway ketogenesis, right? The body is going haywire. In this case, you might see high ketone levels. I'm talking like 10.0, like 10 millimolars per liter. Or is it deciliter? I think it's millimolars per liter. 10 millimolars per liter, as opposed to like, 0.5 to 1.52, like most people are seeing when they're on a ketogenic diet or maybe a carnivore diet. So he's intentionally mixing this up. He's intentionally telling you something that has been debunked for decades, that ketosis equals ketoacidosis. No, it does not. Ketosis is not creating this nasty, gnarly, acidic blood in you. That's patently false. The body will maintain a narrow bandwidth of ketones. It's like saying fasting is acidic, right? Same guy, he's talking about ketosis is great, fasting is great, but if you're on a ketogenic diet, it's stressful, it's acidic. This is nonsense. Okay, so blood acidity, blood alkalinity is very tightly controlled. The only time you're ever going to see something like so-called ketoacidosis is in type 1 diabetics. So Dr. Clapper is intentionally misleading us here. If he doesn't understand that he's misleading us here, then he's retarded, right? As a doctor, he should know this. As a doctor who's trying to help people, he should at least understand what's going on. And shoot, as somebody trying to debunk something, he should at least try and use some valid arguments. But this is how dumb they think their audience is. This is how little respect Plaunt-based news gives to his audience. And this is how little respect Dr. Clapper has for the people listening to him. Well, I've got news for you guys. Not all of us are dumbasses. Right? Not all of us will fall into your little pit of lies. Right? Some of us understand what's really going on here. Ketoacidosis is not ketosis, buddy.
It's a stress on the bones, on the liver, on the kidneys.
A ketogenic diet, ketosis is actually very, very beneficial to the liver, by the way.
This is not a state you want to stay in for long periods of time. And we've just lately learned that the real magic for the body is not in staying in ketosis, it's coming out of ketosis. When you've been in ketosis about 5 days and then you start eating the vegetables and the glucose and the phytonutrients sweep through your cells, whoa, your stem cells wake up from this suspension that they've been in from the fast. They start putting out better, less injurious antibodies. They build new, better white cells. It's the coming out of ketosis that is really healing from the body. It's not staying in ketosis week after week after week. They've got the science misunderstood severely. So whether it's a vegan ketogenic diet or an animal-based one, it doesn't matter. You don't want to stay in ketosis more than 5, 7 days, 10 at the most, and then come out of it with a healthy diet. We are carbohydrate-burning organisms. Our mitochondria burn glucose, not fats. Our preferred fuel is sugars from whole plant foods, and if you eat that, a nice, light, healthy, whole food diet, you won't need to do a whole lot of fasting. You're not going to develop high blood pressure or any of these diseases. So eat whole plant foods, and most of this becomes academic.
You
Eat whole plant foods and you're not going to have any problems. Meat equals bad. You're going to die if you eat meat. But hey, eat whole plant foods and everything's going to be okay, little classy boy. Come on, how dumbed down is this? He gives absolutely no real argumentation at all. Just propagandistic skewing of the terminology and intentional misleading of the audience. I mean, this is pretty, I don't know, it's pretty silly if you ask me. You know what's interesting though, thinking about it, guys like plant-based news are very, very concerned about low carbohydrate diet, and especially the rise of this heretical carnivore diet, right? This diet, it's not even a real diet, right? When you say diet, the diet, there's 100 different ways of doing a carnivore diet. Check out my video where I think it's called "There Is No The Carnivore Diet" or "The Carnivore Diet Doesn't Exist." Right? There's 100 different ways of doing it. There's no one the ketogenic diet. Right? There's 100 different ways of doing a ketogenic diet. But the reason a lot of these vegans and the reason plant-based news in particular is very concerned about ketogenic diet is because the narrative that's being pushed for veganism, for a plant-based diet to be rolled out with global dietary guidelines per like the Eat Lancet group, who just recently published their suggestion that we push a planetary diet, planetary health diet, right, on all the continents of the world, on all the people of the world, effectively solidifying big agriculture's grip on the entire food supply. And that's why groups like Nestle, Kellogg, Tyson Foods, Bayer, Monsanto now, Cargill, are all putting money into actually pushing these plant-based dietary guidelines. So if you guys want to look into this a little bit deeper, check out my recent stream with Belinda Fettke, where we talked about the Eat Lancet Commission and exactly what's going on here with this push for planetary dietary guidelines that are plant-based. All right, so they say that it's for health, and they also say it's for sustainability. Why is plant-based news so worried about a ketogenic diet? Well, what's interesting about keto, what's interesting about carnivores, these are actually true grassroots movements, right? These aren't some little scarf-wearing soy boys who are being paid by Saudi princes to put out content here. We don't have Saudi princes funding Primal Edge Health. We don't have Saudi royalty funding our operation here like Klaus. And we're going to get into that in a moment too. We're going to talk about exactly why plant-based news is putting out all this beautiful content for us to laugh at. What's going on is the ketogenic diet proponents, the carnivore diet proponents, are truly grassroots. These are people who are concerned with their health, who are taking their health back, who are not becoming dependent on processed foods, on supplements, and on pharmaceutical drugs. In fact, a lot of people are getting off these pharmaceutical drugs. A lot of people are getting off all their supplements. A lot of people are leaving diminished or their deficient vegan diets and coming to an enjoyable way of eating. And this threatens the interests that push this propaganda